Watcher and the Dreamer, an ode to the grasshopper and the ant by Aesop, in the oldest forest in the world, where trees knelt like crooked elders and moss clung in black-veined curtains, summer sang with a brilliance that blinded. The glades shimmered golden beneath the sun, insects hummed in dizzy choruses, and flowers bled colors too wild for mortal eyes. The air itself seemed drunk on summer warmth. A fairy spun through this brilliance, wings glimmering like dew-slick glass. She darted between blossoms, trailing laughter, singing nonsense songs to make the forest echo with joy. She was called Dreamer, for she lived as though nothing else existed but the brightness of the moment. On a high branch in the heart of the woods, an owl watched her with patient eyes. His feathers were streaked with silver, his gaze unblinking and grave. He did not sing or dance or waste the warmth of summer. When the sun fell and the moon climbed, he fixed his eyes upon it and stared. It was no ordinary gaze. From the depths of his eyes, thin threads of silver light spilled down like spun silk. They thickened, pulsed, and condensed into trembling spheres that drifted upward into a hollow above his perch. There, the orbs of moonlight piled slowly, glowing like captured stars. The owl's name was Watcher, and his task was endless. Gather light against the coming dark. Why do you waste your nights staring at pale circles? Dreamer teased him one evening as she fluttered about his branch. There are berries to eat, songs to sing, dances to be danced. The sun will not last forever, Watcher said, voice low and grave. Winter will strip the forest bare. The dark will come prowling. Only this light will hold it back. Dreamer laughed, darting in circles around his head. Winter is only a story told to frighten children. I would rather dance than hoard fantasies. Watcher said no more. His eyes returned to the moon. As summer waned, the forest began to change. The golden leaves browned too soon, curling inward as if blackened by unseen fire. Frost veined up the bark of trees, though the air was still warm. Mushrooms glowed faintly from the roots, their pallor sickly, their light wrong. Animals vanished. First the mice and hares, then the deer, leaving silence where once the forest teemed with noise. Every night Watcher gathered moonlight with feverish devotion. His feathers grew ragged from the strain, but his hollow filled brighter and brighter with glowing orbs. They hummed softly, as though each carried a heartbeat. Dreamer still sang and played, though now her laughter wavered. At times, she glimpsed something tall in the tree line, a shadow that bent when it should not, gone when she blinked. At times, she heard her name whispered in the fog, sweet as honey, but when she turned no one stood there. She laughed anyway, though the sound shook. Only trees creaking, only the wind. Watcher, solemn, said nothing. He only stared at the moon. Winter came not gently, but with fury. Snow fell in suffocating sheets, a sky of white that erased the forest. Winds screamed, bending trees until their limbs snapped like bones. vanished beneath drifts, the air sharpened into knives. Dreamer fluttered weakly against the storm, her wings heavy as dew became ice. She tried to sing, but the song cracked in her throat. Each breath scalded her chest with cold. Panic scraped against her ribs. Then she heard it, a voice, so familiar she nearly wept with relief. Over here, I found warmth. It was her friend Bluebell, another fairy from the glades of summer. Dreamer's heart leapt. She beat her frozen wings and followed the sound into a clearing lit by pale moonlight. Relish turned to ash in her mouth. There, half buried in snow, lay Bluebell. Her wings were snapped like brittle glass. Her body was shredded as though torn by claws. Her skin, once bright, was drained of all color. Her eyes were wide and glassy, frozen forever in terror. Dreamer staggered back, choking on a scream. The voice spoke again, but it came from the trees now, warped and wrong, in a sing-song tone. Stay with me in the snow. It's warm here. The fog shifted. Something vast detached itself from the tree line with a stark cry. The winter monster stepped forward. It had no clear shape, only a heaving mass of black mist, but its eyes burned red through the storm. Its teeth were shards of ice, long and dripping, and its arms stretched unnaturally wide as it slid forward. With every step, the snow hissed and seemed to bleed darkness. Dreamer ran. Brambles clawed her wings, tearing at her fragile skin. The storm howled, snow filling her mouth, her ears, her lungs. Behind her, the monster whispered in the voices of everyone she had ever loved. Her mother, her sisters, her friends. Come closer, rest. You'll be safe with us. So warm, so safe. Her tears froze on her cheeks. Her wings cracked under ice. She stumbled, collapsed into the snow. Frost burned into her body like fire. The monster loomed, its fog curling around her like a coffin. Then light, the same cry again. A flurry of brown and silver burst through the storm. Watcher swooped down, his wings vast, his eyes blazing with moonlight. He released one of his orbs, and it flared like lightning. The monster recoiled with a shriek that rattled the trees. Watcher dropped another orb, and the path before them lit, snow melting in a line of silver. He seized Dreamer in his talons and dragged her toward the hollow. Behind them, the monster raged, shadows lunging, teeth snapping. Each orb burned it back, but each orb spent left fewer to survive the months ahead. They reached the hollow, finally safe. Inside, hundreds of moonlight orbs glowed like a constellation, filling the space with warmth. The storm raged outside, the monster's claws scraping the bark, but it could not pass the light. Dreamer collapsed into Watcher's feathers. Her wings were frostbitten, her body shaking. She sobbed uncontrollably, burying her face into him. I thought the summer would last forever, she choked. I didn't listen. I didn't know. I didn't know. Watcher lowered one heavy wing over her trembling form, shielding her from the cold. His voice was low, grave, but gentler now. Hush, child, you are safe. The dark cannot claim you here, but joy is fleeting unless it is guarded. Learn and live, child. Time brings wisdom. She clung to him, sobbing into his breast, while outside the monster prowled endlessly, howling in hunger. Winter dragged on. The forest froze solid, branches snapping like brittle bones, rivers buried beneath black ice. The monster roamed ceaselessly, waiting for weakness, pressing against the hollow's glowing walls. Inside, Dreamer helped tend the orbs. Her songs were no longer wild with laughter, but softer, threaded with sorrow. She sang not for herself, but to strengthen the light. She never flew again, but instead found a way to weave their magic together and protect the forest. Watcher remained unblinking. Night after night, he fixed his gaze on the moon, drawing down threads of silver, weaving them into orbs. His hollow filled with light once more, even as the storm outside screamed. And the monster waited, patient as death. Moral: to live only for the moment is to invite ruin. Foresight is the only shield against the dark.